Guide. In 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Homeschool Mom Survival Guide. You are tuning in with Miss Amy Lucas and myself, Lisa Jorgensen.
Hello.
I had this huge intro, and then you said, hello.
Hola.
That was fantastic. I feel like you need some pre-workout or something.
Ooh.
You need another coffee.
If they only could have heard my prepping you to get started
right?
to do your entry.
You used all your energy.
My hype was out and I was flat when it came down to it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So we had a request to discuss chickens.
Chicken math. Ooh, that was really good. Do that again.
Yes.
I snorted. Now you know we're live.
That's fantastic. So, we are going to talk to y'all about chicken.
Chicken math.
Yeah.
If you are one of our friends and you are listening to this podcast, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yes.
Have you seen, side note, even though we haven't started yet, have you seen those video reels or whatever of the they I think they mean to say pull up, but he says pollock, the chickens, and then the camera's it shows and there's 50 million chickens behind him, and then another guy comes on and it's on.
Yes, the chicken wars.
We're coming. Yes, the chicken wars. The chicken wars. It's a thing.
It is, and chicken wars has gone so far now that there are goats involved as well. There's other types of poultry.
Have to arriving in October.
Nice.
That'll be another podcast.
Yes. All the uses of goat. Other than adorableness, because that is definitely, serotonin release is a huge use of goat.
Really?
Heck yeah. Have you ever seen how cute they are? Goats are stinking adorable.
The ones I'm getting are called Nigerian dwarf
I like Nigerian
goats. But I'm told they're
cute.
bred a little bigger, or these ones are a little bit bigger, so they're good for milking.
Okay.
Whereas other Nigerian dwarf goats, you only get a little bit of milk off of.
Oh,
And so they're technically not, they're not the type of goat that you get with the soap making, but my understanding is there's less drama.
Wait, you want less goat drama?
There's less goat drama.
That's weird.
Most people who have goats will say they've had goat issues or goat problems.
Oh.
And then I guess with the Nigerian dwarf goats, they're much more tame.
Okay. I think you should get an ibex.
What is that?
It's like a giant spitting goat.
Okay, put a pin in it.
Okay, fine.
Put a pin in it. That's our new phrase.
Goat.
Put a pin in it. And that's
Ibex.
Lisa's cue to write down a future topic to discuss. But today we're talking about chicken math. So I am reeling us back in.
Okay.
If you can see, I've got a
Fishing
pole right here.
Yes.
I just hooked it to Lisa and we're reeling her back in.
I'm back.
Because she's off on chicken, or goat.
I'm thinking about goats now.
Goat tangent.
Yeah. So, I have no experience with laying egg chickens.
No, now hold on a second.
What?
I thought before you had roosters and stuff. At one point in time, you had chickens.
We had one rooster.
You just had a rooster, a random rooster. For what reason?
Because Josephine wanted to show the rooster at fair.
Oh.
So we had a rooster for 4-H, but it did not make it to 4-H. It was kind of a jerk, and it used to taunt my daughter's dogs, and it met its end with a dog. It would try and fight the dogs.
No.
And it would stand on one side of the fence and fluff its tail feathers at the dogs.
Right.
And one time it misjudged how far it was from the fence, because the dogs could put their head through the cattle panel, and it misjudged how far it was from the fence, and the dog got it and whoop right back into the fence and the chicken was no more. And it was mixed feelings in our house because that chicken was the world's biggest jerk. He hated us. He would attack anybody who went outside. He would like chase you down. He'd spur you. He'd peck you. He was a jerkwad. I did not like him at all, and he didn't like us. So, yeah, that was our only other chicken.
Yeah, I was recently told, because I was having problems with one of our roosters, so the problems that we were having with one of the roosters was when my husband was going out there in the morning to open the gate for them before he goes to work, it was trying to attack him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was being very polite, and so I went to one of my friends that is a chicken connoisseur, and she said, well, you have two options. You can either exert dominance over it and put it in its place, which is pecking order to the chicken.
Yes.
Or rooster. Or you can make it into chili.
Yep.
Those are your options. And because we now have enough with the newest ones that we got, we have enough to make both of the roosters happy and satisfied. They're not competing.
Yeah.
Or won't be competing, rather. We're not to the point where they're doing their business. So that's what he did. He didn't kick it. He didn't hurt it. But the moment it would turn to him and start approaching, he would put his foot up and push it out of the way.
Oh, okay.
Little bit forcefully, but not so much that it would knock it down or hurt it in any way. And it now leaves him alone.
Nice.
So it just took him not being the victim,
Okay.
which we can apply that in life to many, many things, and
Yep.
especially in this day and age.
Yep. Tries to victimize you. Give it the boot.
Yep. And exerted dominance over it, just to the point where
Nice.
it knows that it doesn't have control over him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we got, I think between the two of us, it started out with us getting layers first.
Yep. You
Yeah.
got layers first.
We got the layers first.
Mhm.
I'm guessing, because we'd have to go back in history, once we got our layers and we're talking about the meat birds coming, it wasn't even a week, and y'all went and got meat birds.
Probably.
Am I right on the timeline here?
It could be. I know you and I had talked about your birds prior to my husband deciding we were going to take a real quick trip to Family Farm and Home and then purchasing 66 meat birds. I had no intention of doing any birds. But, you know, when you go to Family Farm and Home and they tell you, hey, if you take the rest of this bin of chickens, we'll give you a good deal. I mean, how can you pass that up? How can you just be like, we've never done chickens, and maybe we have nothing for chickens, so maybe starting out with 66 of them is overkill?
Right, you
can't
were
do
going to
that.
get how many at first?
I wanted one chicken, and Sebastian wanted one chicken. That's all we wanted. We
Oh,
didn't want-
legit? Okay, so I
Yeah.
thought y'all were going there for like 10 meat birds or something
No.
like that.
No, well, apparently my husband had the intention of getting meat birds. Sebastian and I, were going there to play with other birds and to try and talk my husband into letting us get like one cute chicken each. That was our intention,
Okay.
and my husband had other plans. As soon as he heard good deal, he said, we'll take them all, loaded them up into the car, and off we went with
And I'm correct, when
66 meat birds.
when he said good deal, he didn't know how many were left
No.
in the bucket.
No, he didn't count them. He just looked in the bucket and said, looks good. We'll take them.
Okay, that can be deceptive because we got 70,
Yes.
and when they're tiny,
Yeah.
70 doesn't really look like 70.
No.
It's very deceptive, and you
Yeah.
can't, you have a hard time counting them when they're in a group.
Oh yeah, because they're moving.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they don't just hold still.
And they kind of, you lose some of them because some will kind of be over on another and whatnot, right?
Yep.
It's very hard to count. Now that mine are getting bigger, I counted yesterday because they had all gotten really, fat and lazy food fed.
Oh yeah.
So they were all laying down for a second so I could count them. And yeah, there's a lot in there. This is going to be a crazy moment. Okay, so you guys went to Tractor Supply?
Family
Farm and Home.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been supporting them a lot.
We love Family Farm and
Lately.
Home. That's like our favorite. We like that store. We were
Yeah.
super excited when they came to Greenville because there was one close enough that it was reasonable for us to go there.
I don't think they've been here very long, correct?
No, they opened up earlier this spring. So
Okay,
they just
are
opened
that
up.
new?
Yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense because I wondered why I hadn't noticed them before.
Yep. Before that, there was a grocery store there. It was actually Jorgie's Market, owned by the Greenville Jorgensens. Not any relation to us. We're not that cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you came home
Yep.
with the chickens.
Yeah.
And
And all of the stuff for chickens, like heating lamps and big buckets to keep them in our basement. First time chicken growers, we didn't really know what to do with them, so my husband was like, we'll just put them in the basement for right now. We had absolutely no idea how stinky
horrible.
chickens were.
Horrible.
We didn't know. We had no idea. We learned very quickly
Horrible.
that they are quite the smelly, nasty creatures. But they were living in our basement for a couple weeks while my husband got we have like a little shed that we were using for our bikes and stuff, and he took the bikes all out of there and put them in the barn and then patched up where a squirrel apparently had busted through the side of our shed, and patched up that and got the shed all set up, put the heating lamps in there and put all the containers out there, and we put the chickens in the shed until it started to warm up outside. And we built a big old chicken tractor, threw them in the chicken tractor, and that was where they spent the rest of their 8 weeks of life.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a good experience. It was definitely a learning experience. There are many things that we would do differently. We would definitely recommend waiting until later in the season to purchase the birds because they don't do well with cold. So whereas normally you could have your birds outside within a few weeks, I mean,
Yeah, I
They
moved
were-
mine out 3 weeks. At
Yeah.
3 weeks.
ours were closer to probably 6 weeks before we could put them outside because we got them so early in the season, and it stayed cold here in Michigan for so long this year that we couldn't put them outside.
Yeah, breeze will kill them,
Yeah,
especially
and then,
if they're not full feathered.
yeah, they weren't. There were some of them that even at 8 weeks still had naked butts.
Yeah, mine are not completely full feathered, and they've been out for 6 days now.
Yeah,
6 days.
yeah.
I was in my head counting the movements of the chicken tractor
Oh, yes, yes.
because you can very clearly see
Mm-hmm.
where each has gone.
Yes.
Okay, so what sources did you use to educate yourself on taking care of chickens? Is there? I don't even know how to ask this. Did you learn anything from it?
Yeah, we used...
You just wanted to provide yourself with meat,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
were just okay.
We just wanted to have like meat in our freezer that we knew what it had been eating. We knew nothing had been injected. There were it wasn't eating like pesticides or being given any kind of like, I don't know.
Yours weren't
vaccinations
vaccinated, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, nothing
Okay.
like that. They were just straight, organic. We knew what they were eating, chickens.
Okay.
So that was our intention, and when we got the birds, we didn't really think that was going to be as much as it was, but it was fine. Yeah, so we wanted to be able to fill up our freezer and provide chicken to family members, things like that. But we talked to a lot of people from our homeschool co-op and people that go to our church. We have a lot of homesteaders in this area. So there were a lot of resources that we could speak with. And then we also used YouTube and Google a lot when we had questions. If we didn't know something, we would look up a video on it. Or so not all the information we got was probably 100% accurate, because you can put whatever you want on Google and YouTube, but, well, not whatever you want, but as far as chickens go, you can pretty much put whatever you want on Google and YouTube. And yeah, it was a pretty big learning curve, though. We didn't lose too many chickens, which a lot of people said, especially first time, to expect to lose like 20% of your chickens.
Oh.
And we didn't. We lost.
Did you lose them just like mostly in the very beginning, or?
No, we lost one on the car ride home.
Okay.
Like, it died before we even got back to the house.
Okay.
And, I mean, Family Farm and Home is 5 minutes from here, so that was, I'd say that one was not our fault.
Right.
And then we had a couple that died in the basement, when it was still in the basement.
Okay.
And I'm not sure how those guys died. My husband didn't even tell me they had died until days later. A couple of them got injured. And when we took them, we had them processed. We didn't process them ourselves. When we took them to be processed, the lady who did the processing for us had mentioned that some of our chickens, when she was processing them, she noticed that some of them had like injured wings. And she said that that's not uncommon with meat birds, that they get injuries to their wings and to their legs because...
Did she use a plucker? Because I was told that the plucker breaks the wings. It can break the wing.
Yeah, she did use a plucker. They weren't broken. There was like bruising. It wasn't bruising. I don't remember how she described it, but that's not the word she used. But she said that some of the meat looked a little bit discolored, and that it was only on the birds that she had noticed their wings had like almost bruising on them. And she said that that's not uncommon with meat birds. I don't know for sure. She's the only one I talked to about it, but she said it's not uncommon for them to end up with injuries to their wings or their legs.
They're vicious with the food.
Yeah. And
like,
we witnessed that. Like, they would trample each other. We lost one bird because they got trampled.
Wow.
Like, they sat on it and killed it.
Yeah.
And when we came in the next day, we found it underneath a whole pile of chickens, and that thing was like an inch thick. Like, it was flattened down. And I was completely horrified. Wow. Because I was just like, what in the world? And then there were a couple that, when we would move the tractor, because we didn't put our tractor on wheels, which we should have, or put it on sliders or something. We didn't realize that when we built it. So if you are thinking about starting chickens, word to the wise, when you get your tractor built, make sure you can easily slide it. Do not do what we did. So we would have to kind of lift up one edge of it and like drag it.
Yeah.
And there were a few times when there would be a bird who didn't move and we didn't notice, and we would like catch the leg, or one of them got like his toes a little squished.
So,
But
in ours,
yeah,
Morgan will be on the back side,
okay,
and we do have wheels.
nice.
They came from my wheel box. If you listen to the last podcast, you'll know that I have boxes for things that I have taken off of, things that we throw away or we get rid of, that I think that I might have a use for again sometime later in life.
We call them Amy's Awesome Treasures.
But Morgan will beat on the chicken wire on the back, which scares them to the center.
Yep.
So Trav can move it in the front. And then the rope, if you will, that you lift up in the front was an old hose piece.
Oh.
Piece of hose that had split, and course, Amy said, "Oh, this is going to be useful someday."
And it was.
So I had taken a huge piece of hose
Yeah.
and wound that up and kept that. Well, that when you wound it around a 2x4 a couple times, screwed it on, it has made like the best rope for lifting and moving
That's
the front
awesome.
of the chicken tractor ever. Like,
That is awesome.
Trav saw that sitting there. Trav's my husband. And he was like, "Oh, this is going to work perfect." And I didn't even know how he was going to wrap it on, but I mean, it ended up, it's really sturdy.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
We have a couple broken hoses here. I'm going to have to tell Mike not to throw them away.
Yeah, no, that's great rope
Yeah.
for lifting.
Yeah.
The only thing that I think I would do different on that is I would have put two sections, one to the left, one to the right in the front, instead of just one larger one in the beginning, in the center.
Okay.
I think it would be easier for two people to lift the front. But it has been much easier to have one person beating on that chicken wire in the
Yeah.
back.
We tried hitting the backside to scare them over. That worked with most of them, but some of them would like lag behind and not go.
But yours
We
was
also-
more narrow,
Yeah,
right?
ours
Yours
was
was
a
longer
square.
and narrow. Was it a square?
Yeah, it was a square.
Wasn't a rectangle.
No.
Like in my head, I'm trying to envision
don't
what it
think
looked
so.
like.
I don't think.
Was
I think
a-
it was pretty
was
square.
Was it a square? So
thought
ours
so.
is 10 foot by 12 foot.
Yeah.
And right now it seems like that's still a little bit big,
Yeah.
but as they're growing,
Yeah, it won't be.
yeah, no, it seems like they're going to fill that.
Yeah.
They're going to fill that pretty well by the end.
Yeah. We ended up at the end of ours, we had 60 chickens. And they had told us at the store that you needed, for the adult chickens, you needed 1 square foot for each chicken, like inside of your chicken tractor. Because unlike with layer birds, meat birds, they don't walk around, they just sit there and don't do much of anything. So with layer birds, obviously you need more space, but with the meat birds, you just, according to the woman that we were talking to, you only needed 1 square foot. That was not accurate, because maybe ours was a, I don't remember, it might be a rectangle, I can't remember. But our space, our tractor was big enough, should have been big enough for 75 chickens or
Okay.
80 chickens, something like that. And we only had 60 at the end, and they took up the entire space. Like,
So then it was really hard to probably move at the end when you were
Yes.
having to move it around.
Yeah, they
Wow.
didn't have a whole lot of extra space in there. And so that was another thing that we learned, was that that 1 square foot per chicken is not accurate. Like, you need more space than that.
We are at, I was just, as you were talking, I was trying to calculate it. We did 10 by 12 boards, but I think we've got 1 foot off the back that has the wheels attached to it. So I think it's 10 foot by 11 foot.
Okay.
So that's 110 square feet.
Yeah.
And of our 70, I think we've lost 5 total.
Yeah. So you guys should be good.
65. I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, yours should have plenty of room through the whole process.
And we were only going to get, well, at first, when my girlfriend, she was placing the order. Well, she was placing the order also for the 4-H kids as well that sell chickens at fair. So it was a pretty massive order that she was placing.
Yeah.
And this particular company does take great pride in their chickens, and you typically get really healthy birds from them, yada, yada, yada. But shipping this year, because the birds get boxed and shipped overnight, right at day one. So right as they're both, they're put into a box and they're shipped off
Oh, wow.
overnight. They have a cooling pack in there to help keep them, something in there to help keep them hydrated. But long story short, it took us 3 shipments to finally get enough birds, because I don't know if it was UPS or FedEx or who was doing, or USPS or who was doing the actual shipping. each time it was delayed by a day. So the
Oh.
last time, the first 2 times, it ended up being almost 3 days before the birds were received. Now that's right, day 1, no food, no water.
Yeah.
So the third shipment, they were at 2 days, no food, no water by the time they got to us.
That's horrible.
But they shipped so many extra that we all ended up getting a little bit over. So instead of 50, I got 70.
Nice.
And she was on the ball. She would get the call and text us at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Michelle's amazing.
And she would be at the post office picking them up. She would drive there and pick them up. And then when I did get there finally on the third shipment, like she had sick bay area set up, and they had already gone through the chickens and had them divided up into areas, and then had a sick bay and where it was feeding more water. Like she was on the ball and ready to receive chickens, and chickens that were in dire need of attention. I could not have seen doing it that way on my own.
Yeah.
Without someone who really was experienced with this. I think it would have been a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah. That would have been horrible. Well, and when you guys' chickens were shipping, when your chickens were shipping, we had that heat wave too.
Yep.
So it was so disgustingly hot.
Yep.
That
Yep. So there were a few different factors that I think played in that, and that was a really sad part. I mean, you never want to see animals get purposely hurt or hurt, you know,
you don't
in
want them
those
to suffer.
situations. And anybody who's listening doesn't know this isn't like this is something new. This is how chicks have been shipped this way for decades.
Since the Pony Express.
And yeah, so it's nothing new. Tractor Supply is new, right? I mean, the way that they do it has made things a little bit more convenient and easier. But and you ended up getting actually a better deal on the chickens than I did overall, price-wise with Mike's discount. But yeah, it's fine. It has been a learning curve. This has been really good for my kids. Yes, chickens, oh, do they stink.
I have never been so happy that my sense of smell doesn't work as when everybody was complaining about the horrific smell of the chickens. And at most, I would get like a very mild smell of like old corn. Would be like the only thing. I would get like a very mild old corn smell, and everybody else was like dying because it smelled so horrible, and I was like, aw, sad.
So we had our brooder box in the pole barn. Last fall we had a pole barn built, and so we had the 2 lights in it, although we had a friend who, her barn ended up catching on fire from the light.
Oh my gosh.
I think it was the day after we received our chickens. She added them right to the barn where she has her regular chickens. They weren't separated, but she had the lights, and had attributed her staying up late, like she couldn't sleep, whatever, stayed up late, and had she not, the whole barn would have gone up in flames.
Oh, wow.
But it's because she was up that she heard like some odd sounds coming from outside. I don't know if dogs are barking or what was going on. Yeah. And she ran out there, and it was legit in flames.
Oh my gosh.
So
terrifying.
I think moving forward, I think there's some radiant heat pads, boxes that you set down on the. Maybe you sit down the bottom, or maybe they're just up high enough so the chicks can go underneath it. I don't know which, but there's no risk of fire. And ever since that happened, I've been, I don't know, I've been kind of scared.
Yeah.
But we had our brooder box in the pole barn, And we moved them out to the chicken tractor last weekend, so we'll call it 1 week that they've been out there. I did not have the boys clean out the brooder box right away. We were done using it. They should have just gone in with the broom, the shovel, clean the stuff out. We've been putting it in the garden because I got to tell you, that stuff breaks down pretty fast. And because after a week of sitting in the pole barn, in the brooder box, closed up, you open that up, it was pure nitrogen.
Oh.
It was very fumy,
Oh, no.
but not like chicken poop fumy, like nitrogen is what you smelled. And
Wow.
but there was some mold that had grown on the top, so Trav was like, we are not, I'm deathly allergic to mold.
Yes.
And I know that when things decompose, right, I know that molding process takes place. It's not something I normally see, though.
Yeah.
He was like, nope, we're just going to box this up. And so, honestly, he pulled off the hinges and the wheels off the brooder box. He burned the brooder box.
Oh, no, that was such a pretty box.
We're going to redesign it.
Yeah. Make it even cooler.
Well, I'm going to make it so that it attaches to the chicken coop.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So it will be enclosed.
Yeah.
It will be able, there basically will be double screen. So a screen on the side of the brooder box, a screen, right, connecting to the screen where the chickens are.
Okay.
And when the time is right, I'll be able to open that door.
Oh, and release the
and
Krakens.
the chicks, right, but the whole time they're being raised,
Yeah.
the mama hens will be in there smelling them.
Yep.
And so there won't be this, because when we moved our layers out to the older chickens,
Yeah.
well, okay, back up. So
Back it up.
the 2 deliveries got messed up. In between the second and the third delivery, I ended up at, I think it was Tractor Supply that day, because we had lost, due to heat exhaustion, we had lost some layers.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
And so chicken math, I lost 5, I got 10.
Yes. Makes sense.
Right, lost 5, go to the store, get 10. That's chicken math.
They were smaller.
They were, yes.
Yeah.
You want them to take up the same amount of space? Yes. I
Yeah.
like your logic.
Square footage.
Because we added them to the brooder, and then it was like the next day that the meat birds showed up. So they got added to the brooder. So they're all kind of in the brooder at the same time. No big deal. Somebody warned me. Yeah, they warned me. So our layers, the layered chicks, we ended up getting Rhode Island Reds and black sex links
Okay.
in our second. So what do we have in our hen house now? We have Brahmas,
Okay.
we have black sex links, and we have Rhode Island Reds. Rhode
Nice.
Island Reds are really pretty.
Yeah.
And I think they're smart because as things started getting crazy in the brooder box, and by crazy, these meat birds, I didn't know this, but they're actually bred to never be satisfied.
Yes.
So they're always hungry.
Yeah.
And if you leave the food in there all the time,
Yeah.
they will eat to the point where they'll have a heart attack.
Yeah. They'll die from eating too much.
So we were doing 12 hours on, 12 hours off.
Yes.
And at one point, it was a couple days before this incident, someone had warned me, you better get your layers out of there because the meat birds will push them out of the food and then they won't get any food.
Oh yeah.
But meat birds trampled one of the Rhode Island Reds. And by trampled, I mean flattened
Poor baby
her.
bird.
That's the day that we moved them out and put them in with the older chickens, probably earlier than we should have. One of the roosters, I won't say bullied them, but was kind of aggressive with them, trying to figure out who they were and what they were doing in his domain. But they're like all calm and they're all happy now. But yeah, those meat birds, the why we called the Rhode Island Reds so smart is because the type of feeder we had in the brooder box, the Rhode Island Reds would jump up to the top
Okay.
and just eat from where we filled from quickly before the meat birds got everything
Yeah.
moved
Before they
down.
got it all down.
Yeah. So they're
is
smart birds, but those meat birds, man, if you guys have never done that before, they are not aggressive. Like they're not aggressive towards you unless you
Some-
experience that.
We had a few spicy nuggets.
Did you?
Yeah. We had one that was so cute. He would, this probably isn't cute. This is probably bad chicken behavior. But I thought it was adorable. Because he would run over and, like, bite my finger with his beak and then shake his head like a dog would do. I don't know if that's normal for chickens. We only had one that did that. He was my favorite because I thought it was hilarious.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. So we had a few spicy nuggets that would, like peck you or bite you.
They're
But
just
they-
super aggressive with the food.
Yeah, they would get really aggressive with each other, but none of them ever like broke skin or anything like that. Like none of them pecked me hard enough for it to hurt. They were just kind of being sassy. So,
But
yeah,
they're dumb.
yeah, they're dumb. They're dumb. They're real dumb.
Like legit.
Yeah, we got Cornish crosses. Is that what you guys got?
The yellow ones. Yeah, I think that's what we're getting.
I thought there was
I think that's
only.
what we got.
I thought there was only one kind of meat bird, the Cornish cross, but then I heard somebody talking recently about another kind of meat bird, and I didn't even know there were more than one. So
So there's
I just assumed that.
meat birds.
Yes.
There's layers,
Yes.
and then there's what they consider dual purpose.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, the slower growing
There's a
layers
secondary.
that you can eat.
There's a secondary meat bird too that takes 30 days longer
Okay.
to grow as well.
Yeah, that's the one that somebody was talking about, but I didn't know. I thought with meat birds, I thought they were all just Cornish cross, and then you had all different kinds of layers, but I had no idea that there were until somebody just recently. I wish I could remember who was talking about that. Obviously, I paid close attention. But yeah, they were talking about him being a slower grower and it taking longer for them to reach meat maturity. But yeah.
So the one thing that I am confused on, and I'm gonna ask you a question on this. Mike had said you guys had gone through like 21 bags.
Yeah,
of
we went
feed.
through a lot of feed.
That is double what I'm told we
wow.
should go through.
Oh wow.
So I'm trying to figure out in my head
Yeah.
why you guys went through so many bags of food.
We went
Because I will
by-
have, legit, I will have 12 bags.
Yeah.
That is all
Yeah.
that I have in. I went ahead, well, they had a deal yesterday.
Yeah.
Want to hear the deal?
Yes.
This was great. I was going anyways.
Okay.
Because I was sick of going and picking up like one bag here, one bag there. Like,
Yes, that was a pain.
like seriously.
Mhm.
For every 2 bags of, was it Kalmbach, what is the brand? The really good, the
Yeah.
Calm. It's like I'm giving them a shout out, but I'm not saying their name right.
Yeah, I can't remember their name either.
You know the one I'm
meat
talking
bird
about?
food.
The meat bird food.
Yeah.
The good stuff.
Yeah.
The fancy stuff.
The good stuff.
For every 2 bags that you bought, you got 1 box thingamajigger of the medium. And actually, it ended up in the end that I could get whatever one I wanted, whether I wanted the fine, the medium, or the big cut bedding.
Oh.
So every 2,
yeah, you got free bedding.
I got free bedding.
Nice.
So we ended up, between the layers and the meat birds, we bought all the rest that we'll need for the meat birds.
Nice.
And then we got what we wanted for the layers. We got 7 things of the bedding.
Oh wow, that's nice.
Yeah, because that's like $6-7 each.
Yeah.
So that's 42.
That's awesome.
So that ended up being a really good deal. But I'm still trying to figure out.
Well, when we were feeding them, so we looked up online to see how much we needed to feed them.
Right.
And it gave like the first couple of weeks you were supposed to use a certain kind of feeder, like the round feeders that have, that they can like all stand around it and eat out of the bottom.
That's what I currently have in mine.
Yeah, and then when they got a little bit bigger, you were supposed to go to like a trough style that was like 2 feet long, and then the next you were supposed to do a 3-foot trough and then a 4-foot trough. And for 25 birds, you were supposed to give them towards the last few weeks, they were supposed to get the 4-foot trough like twice a day for every 25 birds that you have. So we were feeding them according to that, and at the end, they were all way smaller than they should have been.
I remember you guys saying that.
Yeah, so we actually, at the end, we were feeding them almost a bag of food. We switched over to it was another one of the round feeders, but it was like a big, almost like, I think it was a 5-gallon pail. So we could dump almost I don't know.
Was it metal?
It was like a whole bag. Yeah.
I think that might be the one we have right now.
That's what we ended up using at the end, and they were eating, we had 2 of those in the tractor, in the chicken tractor, and we would fill it up in the morning and we would fill it up at night. And they would eat the entire thing.
So you weren't doing 12 hours on, 12 hours off?
No, because if we were going to do 12 hours on, 12 hours off, we were doing that when they were little, but they would clear out all the food. So if we did 12 hours on, 12 hours off, we would have to go out there and refill their food every hour or so, because they would just eat all of it. And
they
it would
will.
Be gone. Yeah.
They'll keep eating it.
Yeah. So if we did 12 hours on, 12 hours off, we would have to be out there every hour refilling it. And we would have gone through 20 times as much food. So at the beginning, early on, we did 12 hours on, 12 hours off. We would put the tray in there with food in it, and they would have that whole big tray for 12 hours, and then we would take the tray away with whatever food was left in it at the end of the 12 hours, so they couldn't eat overnight. But towards the end, we didn't even have to do that. We just fed them twice a day. We fed them in the morning and we fed them at night. And they ate so much food.
Yeah, no, they won't stop.
But they were...
I'm surprised you didn't lose.
They were too small.
You didn't lose any to heart attack.
No. And at the end, the lady said, we asked, because we were we don't know if these are good sized, if they're too small, if they're too big. And she said that they were a decent size. She didn't say they were huge.
Did she tell you average where you ended up?
We weighed them at the end.
You weighed them?
Yeah. After being processed, we got most of them were 6 to 7 pounds. So after they'd had their insides taken out and their heads off,
right,
and feet and all that.
That's not bad.
No, so we got 6 to 7 pounds after.
So, chicken math.
Yes.
Did you guys calculate out what your cost ended up being per pound?
My husband did, but I didn't really pay attention to it. I wasn't in it to try and save money on chickens.
No.
He wanted to try and save money on chickens because, for him, if he can accomplish 2 things at once,
right?
I mean, it's good, but
right.
My focus was just trying to keep them alive until the end.
Well, that's in homesteading, the things that I've done, whatever, the crunchy that you were talking about last time. There's some things legit.
Yeah.
That are all about saving money.
Yeah.
And then there are some things that I do that are about taking the toxins out and taking the extra chemicals out. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like when Mike tallied up everything we had spent and not including
equipment.
The reusable, the equipment and stuff like that. Outside
I'm not
of that,
putting that in the math.
No. I feel like he said we came close to what we were going to pay in the stores. I think we were a little bit under, but I don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure.
Was it good enough that you guys think you'll do it again?
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Will you do it again this year still?
Not this year.
You're going to do it next year?
Yeah.
You're going to do it again next year?
Yeah, we're going to do it next year. I think next time what we want to do is do smaller groups. So we'll do it maybe twice in a year instead of all at once. Because we ended up having to split up the processing anyways. The lady that did ours couldn't take 60 chickens all at once. It's just her, and she's got a couple daughters. I think only one of them was helping her with the processing though. So it was just her and her daughter. And we dropped off 30 chickens the first week, and she and her daughter processed them. We came back later that day, a couple hours later, picked them up, brought them home, packaged them, and threw them in the freezer. And then the next week, we took the other 30 and brought them to her, and she processed them.
So you had, you were at 60 days, and the second group was a week later.
Yes. I think we were actually at 9 weeks and 10 weeks. Because our chickens, when we were feeding them by the scale that they had told us, they weren't growing fast enough at all. So I think we actually ended up giving them an extra week before we started processing them to try and get them a little bit bigger. Because if not, they were going to be like just little tiny, like chicken nuggets. So
That's good to know. What, just talking to, and it's, you know, some of our friends that show at the Kent County Fair.
Yeah.
One of which I bought chickens from for a couple years, which got us hooked on meat birds instead of buying it at the store in the first place. Like,
hooked on meat birds.
well, it's almost like when my husband, when he and I first started dating, and his parents had a plane and they had a charter boat, and it was in North Carolina, and they would fly there on, I don't know what day of the week, let's call it like Wednesday, Thursday, and they would fish all weekend, and then they would be home by sometime on Sunday, and they would have caught mahi-mahi and tuna.
Delicious.
And they would bring and drop stuff off at the house, and it's like you'd put the tuna on the grill for like literally 30 seconds each side.
Yep.
And it would come, they would have bagged it in salt water, so you knew it was good.
Yep.
And it just ruined you from ever buying tuna in the store. That's what happened. And I don't, maybe the first time that we did it, maybe the first time was 2020. Because it seems like, yeah, maybe that's when they canceled it out. The chickens got canceled, right? Because can't have chickens give you COVID. But canceled you out of, they got canceled out of the Kent County Youth Fair. So now they had all these birds that the kids couldn't sell. And we ended up buying our first 12, and then we turned around and we did it again. And have you eaten some of yours already?
We have.
Come on. Like, it's like butter, isn't it?
It is. It's good. The chicken's really good.
There is no comparison. Yeah. You could leave that sit in your freezer for 3 years. Because the few chickens we got left, I told you, right, when you got sick and I made you chicken noodle soup, I went and bought chicken because I couldn't find those chicken. Yeah, they were down deep in the freezer, and I still had like 6 left.
Found them.
Yeah. Still good meat.
Yeah.
But I was so afraid when I brought you that chicken noodle soup. I was like, I don't know what this chicken's gonna taste like.
Nope, it was good.
I was legit nervous, but it ruins you.
Yeah.
All right. Do you think it's that much better than what you get at the grocery store?
I don't know about taste wise. To me, I usually cook chicken in like a sauce. So I don't notice the taste as much a difference, but they are not as dry.
No.
Like I'm not going to use the M word because I don't like the M word. It's grody. But they are not dry. And
I don't know what the M word is.
What?
Are you allowed to say it online?
Yeah, it's not a bad word.
What word is it?
It's moist. I just think that word is gross. You hate that word. Yeah. the M word.
No, I agree with you. At first it was almost oddly moist. Like, why is it so moist? I tend to do most of mine in the roaster.
Okay.
Like,
See,
I'll throw a couple in the roaster, and then what I do is I will, and come on, all right, you're totally gonna end up doing this.
Probably.
Once I said this. So you get the roaster out, you put 2 chickens in it, right? You cook it down, right?
Yes.
You can add stuff to it. You can season it if you want at that point. You don't even need it. Pour in a couple cups of water at the bottom so that there's juice at the bottom.
Okay.
And then get all the meat off it once they're cooked, and then chop that meat up into small little cube type pieces.
Yeah.
And then you take in the smaller, not the gallon freezer bags, but they sell quart freezer bags.
Yes.
Chop them up into 1 or 2 cup per bag, and then freeze them that way. It literally takes 5 minutes to thaw out on the counter, and you've got quick chicken to put in your sauce or to put in chicken taco. The reason why I said to you it's tacos. Chicken tacos, right?
The best.
It made it so convenient.
Yeah.
But even to do that, all right, so these chickens are like 2.5 years old now. I'm cooking them up, chopping them up, refreezing them, thawing it, and it's still the most tender meat that I've ever experienced. It's just not chewy.
No, it's not. The texture's definitely softer.
And I don't know taste-wise. I mean, unless you marinate or add seasoning and stuff, I'm sure that the taste is probably the same, but it's that texture that I think is that much better.
Yeah.
I'm tainted. I was sold hook, line, and sinker.
Yes.
Like the tuna now in chicken. Well, you want to add onto that, right? We bought the half cow.
Yeah.
Come on. There's no comparison.
No, we definitely enjoy our half cow in our freezer too.
I mean, even the steaks, I don't know. They're just so moist and fall apart in your mouth and perfect.
Yeah. Yes.
Chicken math definitely pays off.
It does.
So I'm thinking that chicken math adds up in the end.
Yes.
Even if you end up over, under, you got that advice. What I've gotten was legit the whole time, 12 hours on, 12 hours off.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, even if they don't keep eating.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, you got lucky.
That's what, I mean,
and
everybody
you didn't
kept
lose
telling
any
us,
heart attack.
Well, everybody kept telling us 8 weeks you need to have them processed or they're going to start dropping. But I think the reason that ours didn't is because they were underweight. I think if they had been full weight where they should have been and we had let it go longer, I think they would have been dropping right and left and we would have lost a lot of them. But
I'm lucky.
I don't know.
I'm grateful that your chicken math paid off.
I know, me too. I was real nervous when my husband told me that we were only taking 30 that first week, and I was like, I feel like we're already past the 8 weeks and we're pushing it, and that we were only taking 30 the first week and we had to wait a whole another week to take the second 30. I was like, please let us not lose all 30 of those.
It makes me happy that so many different people are taking advantage and starting to take back their independence.
Yeah.
Self-sufficient.
Yep.
Getting this stuff going, and don't be discouraged. From what I found and everything that I do, it's all a learning process.
Heck yeah.
And use your resources, use your friends. Yep. Call 4-H. Yeah. 4-H can be a great resource. Your county fairgrounds can be a great resource. They legit have chicken department that can help you and answer your questions. Here in Michigan, as much as I'm not a fan, Michigan State University, that's the 4-H head office.
Yes.
They've got great information, trainings, all kinds of stuff that you can get to take back your independence.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're going to have to wrap this one up.
I think we are. We are almost at an hour. So thank you, everybody, for joining us again. Keep the ideas coming, and We love you, and we'll see you again next week.
Take care. Bye.